Well, I'll help too.
Okay.
All right. So I never know when this is actually starting because it says it's starting, but I don't know. So, anyways, welcome you all to the Dr. G Show. I'm Dr. Patrick Garrett. We've been doing this since 2007 or 2006, and this is episode 220. And as you guys know, I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I have a clinic here in Kansas. We have treated patients and clients from all around the world in helping them reverse acute, chronic conditions, usually the stuff they tell them you'll never be able to reverse. So things like Crohn's, asthma, eczema, psoriasis, that kind of stuff. So I have 5 postdoctoral diplomates, 3 in clinical nutrition, 1 in functional medicine, 1 in integrated medicine. I sit on several boards, chairman of the board of directors of the American Academy of Functional Medicine, chairman of the board of directors of the American Board of Functional Medicine, and taught anatomy and physiology for 7 years. Just super nerd about all this stuff. And international speaker. I even do research at KU Medical School on proteogenomic psychiatry. So we look at genetic mutations and how they affect patients that are difficult to treat. And today we are continuing our series, basically patient experiences. And so it's one thing for me as a doctor to be telling you about how you fix people, but it's way better to hear from people that actually have been through it. Now, I've been through it too, but people that have been through it, and so they can talk about their experience and the trials and tribulations and the successes and failures and the whole hero's journey of the process. And one of my favorite people today is Jan Watts, and she's our special guest, so we're going to kind of like have her kind of lead the process, talk about your experiences. And you're a past TV host and radio host, and I first met you, well, actually at one of my talks at Butler Community College years ago on reversing diabetes.
Right.
And I think reversing diabetes in 2 months.
Right.
I think was the series, or that talk. And then I worked with you a little bit here and there on TV and a little cooking show, and so I'll kind of hand it over to you. And so you have this experience of you lost over 100 pounds.
I did.
And then you sustain that weight loss, which is the hard part, right?
Yeah, that's well, it hasn't been for me. I know most people really struggle with it, but as I was sharing with you just a minute ago, I just came from a wedding where everybody wanted me to eat cake.
Yeah.
And I said no, thank you. Finally, I took one bite just to appease everybody, to tell my granddaughter that she'd done a good job of making it. But it's a lifestyle. And when I met you, I had just been diagnosed with diabetes, and as you know, I pretty much reversed that.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
So
easy reverse.
It is. And there's so many diseases that are brought on by the way you eat. And I don't eat any fast food. I just drive right past them. I cook most of my own meals. I start out with a smoothie in the morning that I put fresh fruit in every morning, and I add my liquid vitamins to it. And all day long, I watch what I eat. I'm not snacking on junk food. I'm not popping the potato chips and stuff. If I want a snack, I'm eating some little baby tomatoes, or I'm making me a wrap with veggies in it. Like today, I had a wrap with avocado and shreds of carrots in it.
Yeah.
So I try to eat like that, and it's just become a lifestyle since I met you. And you really took me under your wing about 2012 or 13, I think.
Yeah.
And we did all the testing to see what I was allergic to and all that.
Food sensitivity testing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk about that too.
And so when I found out what was kicking things like this chronic cough I had, I don't cough anymore. And that's one of the reasons I quit doing radio and TV, is because I had this chronic cough. And I couldn't get on the air anymore without coughing, so that's gone.
Nice.
And I'm so excited that all it takes is a lifestyle change. And I'm active. I have workout equipment in my house, and I do little stretches at night before I go to bed and things. And a lot of people going, well, you're 73 years old. How much exercise can you do? You'd be surprised how much you can do because, you know, like I have a stretch band. I just lay down in the bed and I move my arms and legs back, and I'm getting a full workout while I'm doing that. Or I stretch them this way, you know. And Wayne likes to walk, and we stay active. You know, we have a home in Florida. We have a swimming pool down there, and we just, you know, we go down there 2 or 3 times a year, and we stay active. You know, we don't sit on our rear ends watching TV all day. And I think that's where people have to get the mindset. No, I really don't need that piece of cake. No, I really don't need that ice cream bar. If you get in your mind, no, that's bad. That's like eating poison to your body, right?
Okay, so I love how you say that.
Right?
Because, yeah, you talk about food in the form of this is poison, that's crack, that's addiction, it's not real, you know?
It's not real.
And you're being manipulated for pretty much profit, and the sicker you get,
right,
the worse you eat, the more profitable you are.
Right, right. And, you know, we were talking about people that gain it back. You know, we just came from a wedding where 4 generations of my family were. Most of them are heavy set because they didn't eat right, you know.
Yeah.
And I watched one granddaughter. She trained for a 5K run, and then gained all the weight back. You know.
Yeah.
And so you just have to learn. If I can do it once, I can keep doing it, and that's where my mindset is. And you taught me all that. You know. You know. Junk food is a thing of the past for me. I mean, I used to live on cheeseburgers and pizza.
Yeah.
Before I met you, and you know. It was just the lifestyle, especially when I was in radio, because I would drive through, grab something, and take it back to the station and go back on the air. You know, it's just so.
Well, we kind of have all these reasons why we, you know, they make it so easy, and then it basically becomes the justification of like, well, it's too hard to cook, it's too hard to do this, it's too hard that, and that's one of those things of like changing your dialogue. Like, if you love your body,
right,
how would you eat differently? Like, if you how would you socialize different? How would you be active differently? You know, if you like truly just kind of love yourself, and changing that dialogue of like, I deserve to have this cookie, I deserve to have this soda, I deserve to have this thing. Yeah. But then it just becomes deserved all the time.
Right.
But really what you want to be is happy, healthy, and balanced.
Right.
And that's really changing that internal dialogue of like, I deserve to be healthy and happy. I deserve to feel good and energetic after I eat.
It's like I was telling my husband the other day, you know, he doesn't realize that all those ladies walking on walkers at our church are younger than me.
Yeah, so you're telling them to tell.
Yeah.
You're the oldest at your church.
I'm the oldest one at my church. I was the oldest one at the wedding, you know, and I was walking out there on the sand and doing my thing just like, you know, all the young people were. And it's incredible when I go look on their Facebook page to see when their birthdays are, and I'm like, gosh, I'm 2 years older than they are.
Yeah.
You know, but you know.
No, that's great because I mean, it's not, what you do now is what's going to happen for 10 years later, right?
Right. And my hair is natural too.
Is that right?
Yes.
Nice.
I've never dyed my hair.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. When I was getting divorced, I had gray, like starting here like crazy. And then as I like started doing the same stuff I tell patients, started eating differently, started meditating, going to yoga, I noticed that gray disappeared.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think there's very little. Now my beard, that's a little bit gray, but otherwise, yeah, that's weird. I had a patient before who had that streak like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And she changed her lifestyle and went away. But yeah, so like that's a good indicator. So if you guys don't know, hair is like your kind of barometer of lifestyle, because hair follicles do all kinds of hormonal stuff. They do other processes, and they also make hair. But you don't need hair. So if you don't have enough nutrition, hair goes gray. If you don't have enough nutrition, hair falls out, right?
I'm sick.
Yeah. And you've always been really health conscious for the most part anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one of those interesting things of like seeing hair grow back or hair change color. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll hopefully be like this when I'm 72.
There you go.
And that's a cool thing of like you being, so 72, right?
73.
73. 73, and you're like the young one at church,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things. Like, so I'm 50 now, and I have to have younger friends because my friends don't want to do anything.
Right.
They're all tired and old. And
Right.
so, like, especially during COVID, like, we're all gonna die, and so they all stayed in. And like, I had to go hang out with 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
go to house parties and stuff because they
Yeah.
were the only people doing stuff.
Right. Right.
And then when I go hiking, it's usually
Right.
like 20 and 30-year-olds.
Well, during the wedding, I was hanging at the kids' table, and there was 2 younger women there. One was my granddaughter, who's 33, and the rest were all kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're more fun than the old folks like that.
Yeah. Oh, get people talking about all the elements. I'm just like, where's the kids?
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
talk with the kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we have a few comments here. So Lauren High, Wayne Watts. That's crazy.
3 food groups for most people: sugar, flour, and lard.
That's right. And then that's that cake.
Yeah.
And then Coraline. So she got manipulated by food. She's weak, and she needs a little more self-control. Well, that's everybody. I mean, food is addiction. Food is culture. Food is religion. Food is emotions. Like, that's the hard part. And then they manipulate salt, fat, sugar, and MSG for food addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't even know that's going on, right?
Okay, and we have
And
ice
Jean.
cream. Ice cream is my weakness.
Yeah. Hey, here's a good question. So what is y'all's weakness? What is your crack, right? What is the food that it's the hardest to control? Mine was always pizza.
Mine
but
is
it's sugar,
cheese.
salt, fat. Yeah, cheese. Cheese is morphine. Pizza, the cheese is morphine. The wheat is morphine. It's casomorphin and glutenomorphin. That's like crack cocaine to me back in the day. And then Coraline.
Wade says crawfish.
Now crawfish should be okay. That's all good.
Okay, somebody says Starbucks and cookies.
Yeah.
Is that Carolyn Kim?
Coraline, yeah.
Coraline, okay.
So yeah, it's not easy. I mean, again, we live in the sickest, fattest, dumbest population with most anxiety and depression in the entire world, where 3 out of 4 people are chronically managing a chronic condition.
Yeah.
We are not built for healthy, happy, and balanced in this country. So that's where you have to find your mentors, or find whoever can kind of help guide you through that process and through all the addiction. But I will tell you a secret. Okay, so in high school, my sister used to drink and do drugs with her friends and stuff, and I kind of watched that, and we lived in a ghetto. There was so much goddamn violence and stuff, and I was like, luckily I was smart. I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of this neighborhood. I'm going to be a doctor. There's no doctors in the ghetto, so that's all I knew was trying to get the hell out of here. So I really kind of like tried really hard not to kind of sabotage that as much as possible. And so with drinking, like all through high school, I really didn't drink. I don't think anybody know that. I don't think I drank at all. But when I went to a party, I would pick up a beer as soon as I walked in. Anything half drunk, I would just pick it up and walk around. If I had a beer, nobody tried to tempt me with a beer, right?
There you go.
If you walk around with no beer and everybody else has beer, oh, come on, you have a beer. Well, now I'm going to go in an explanation of like why I don't want to drink, right?
Right.
And so, at the cake thing, you just walk around with so just pick up someone's half eaten cake and just walk around.
Right.
Never actually eat it.
Yeah.
Like I would
That's what I finally did, because after 2 of my little great granddaughters came in, wanting me to eat cake, and my granddaughter had made it.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I'll take a bite, but then I just sat there with my cake and nobody bothered me anymore.
Yeah. So at birthday parties, you got to flip the table and go, happy birthday to the ground.
Yeah.
I just walk around looking at people and I'm like, you're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die.
I know.
Like, I feel
almonds and milk chocolate.
So,
that's Lauren.
Well, almond milk, chocolate almond milk. What about that, Lauren? Hey, and you can read that. You said you couldn't read that. You do as good as I can with this. Well, so kind of talk about the process then. So you got diagnosed as type 2 diabetic.
Right.
And now because that was 2000, that was just after they created type 3 diabetes, which is brain diabetes. But so you get diagnosed, and then what? Like, how did
Well,
you take that?
I went to a class put on by Susan B. Hospital, and my husband's laughing in the background because it was a joke. It was a joke because I went in there thinking I'm going to learn something I don't know
Yeah.
from these educated people. You know, they had several doctors. It was a week-long class, and I took it. And I'm sitting there going, are they crazy? They wanted me to drink diet talk. Talk about diet pop.
Yeah. So in 1980, we got this great idea. Americans were getting too fat, couldn't figure out how to make healthy people. So, if you take gasoline, which is sweet, you can convert it to formaldehyde, which is sweet. And instead of preserving dead people and frogs, you could make aspartame. And aspartame, Diet Coke came out in 1980. 4 years later, we had a sudden epidemic of two brand new diseases, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. Never existed before, but apparently drinking formaldehyde is not good for you. But MS, lupus, Sjogren's, Raynaud's, 1984 is the sudden epidemic year for that, for all the people drinking that formaldehyde. The really interesting thing, too, on that, I probably talked about this way back in the day, but I believe it's a cereal company that came out with that, and they didn't tell about all the tumors and all the horrible stuff that happened with it, so the FDA was going to sue them, right? So they built up this multi-million-dollar case, and then Cyril just hired their lead attorney. And then they had to start from scratch, rebuild a whole new case with a new lead attorney. They bought that attorney. And then they were just like, it's too expensive, we spent millions of dollars, so they just left them to make aspartame. And then I believe that was bought out by Monsanto, because Monsanto's like, we need to be the evil corporation of like everything evil. So, you know. So that's crazy, is like, we didn't even pursue it as a country back when we actually, you know, like, why does the FDA never care about this stuff? Well, now we have people from Monsanto and from these companies now are appointed by the political leadership to be in those positions because Monsanto funds presidencies, and so that's what they do. So ever since the 1980s with Ronald Reagan, every president since then has appointed people from Monsanto into the leadership and the fundamental programs of our government, that oversight committee, all the oversights, yeah. So, yeah. So they, I mean,
here I am at a diabetes class, and they're serving diet drinks.
Yeah, I would.
And I'm arguing with the nutritionist.
Yeah.
That this is not healthy, you know. And she goes, "Oh, yes, it is. Yeah." And so I left that class going, I'm not following any of this advice. They're all crazy. And then I saw that you were having a class at Butler Community College, and I went to that, and I went, aha, this man knows what he's talking about. You're brilliant. You know, and no, I'm serious. You know, I don't think I've ever asked you a question that you couldn't answer, and you've changed my life, because I was on a bad path, eating my pizza, my cheeseburgers, and my chocolate shakes, and you know, and you just taught me that you can give that up and eat right and be healthy and feel good. I mean, I'm 73, and here it is, 7:30 at night, and I've still got energy, you know.
Yeah.
Most people are sitting in front of the TV with their feet up and drinking their diet soda, right?
Yeah, I watch you, and I'm like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Like,
Thank
just
you.
active and stuff.
Thank you.
I mean, because what you do now is 10 years later, 20 years later, you know?
Right.
Like, it's not so much like who you want to be now, it's like, who do you want to be in the future?
Well, that's it.
And,
that's it.
man.
And then when I started having grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and I mean, I've got an 11-year-old granddaughter now. That was at the wedding. And, you know, she comes running up and grabbing Granny, and I'm walking around the beach on her and having a good time, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I hadn't have taken care of myself, I might be dead now, you know. And I never enjoyed seeing the great-grandchildren that I've got. And I've got some beautiful granddaughters, and life is good. I've got a great husband, too, by the way. He's
That reminds me of the documentary.
And by the way, my husband is 15 years younger, and nobody ever guessed that.
The next episode is going to get yourself some Cradle Robin. Man. Rock that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
We're compatible, and he didn't realize I was older, and I didn't realize he was younger until we'd already connected really good, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't look my age, right? But
Good.
we've been together 30 years now.
30 years? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to start coming to you for advice.
I've got lots of good advice. One is never go to bed angry.
You know what? Yeah. So there was this, I don't know, when I worked at, I did some, I don't know, preceptorships or something at a nursing home.
Uh-huh.
And I was asking those old people, like, it's like, so, you know, what's the secret to marriage or stuff, you know? And one of them said, you know, don't ever go to bed angry. Stay up and just hash that stuff out.
My husband wants to know my numbers? You talking about my
Oh, A1C?
A1C? 6.4, which
Nice.
is really good for somebody that's supposed to be diabetic, right?
Right. Yeah, because, you know, the old numbers, all they do is lower numbers to get people on meds earlier now. But, you know, the old numbers was 7, and then it was 6.5, and then it was, actually, I think it was 7.5. Then 7, then 6.5, then 6.0, then 5.7 is the new number that they're going down to. But they just keep lowering the numbers. So the key is keeping your inflammation under control, keeping your blood sugars under control with that. But yeah, you're fantastic. So they just blood pressure.
Well, you know, when I met you, you told me my goal was to get to 140 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. I was hitting 200 every morning, and I was so discouraged, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm way below 140 now in the morning.
Nice,
but that
yeah.
was the goal you had me set to start with. And I was so disappointed when I couldn't do it. But boy, the more you cut out the junk in your life and the more you stay on a good diet and eat healthy,
yeah,
better you are. So, we have any more questions up there?
Yeah.
Somebody said Starbucks and cookie M&Ms are there.
Yeah. So, you know, like that time I did that talk was because I had a patient that was from Oklahoma that was coming up, and her sister was like, oh my God, you know, she's going to die. But her A1C was unreadable. Unreadable. Like, we reached a point in society where people's blood sugar are so high, they don't even make machines calibrated high enough for it, right? Like, they're like, no one will ever have
well,
that
you know,
high.
I was doing this health thing where it was all health products, and 2 women came up to me, and I had a product that could lower their blood sugar. And I said, oh, you're diabetic? Well, what was your blood sugar this morning? One said 500. And I was like, you shouldn't even be walking around, you know? Yeah. You should be in a hospital. You know, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was like, and people are living like that, you know? Yeah. And we just had a young man from church that had to have heart surgery because he's gained a lot of weight and he's not doing well. But I hate to see people in their 40s having to have heart surgery. Right. You know? Yeah. And that's the main reason I'm here, because I'm hoping some of my friends are watching and some of my family's watching, and they're going, hey, if Jan can do it, I can do it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and that woman that had the unreadable, it took 2 months of just radically changing her lifestyle to just sustainable, and she had normal fasting blood sugars for the first time.
Awesome.
It was just 2 months.
Yeah.
And so, like, the body's genetically designed to heal. It's physiologically designed to heal.
Yeah.
We just don't make it easy in the U.S. And we do lots of gimmicks and nonsense stuff, too. And...
well, you can't lose weight taking a pill.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of, you can't work
with your Diet Coke.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to go lecture at I think it was a senior center once, years and years ago, and they were like, oh, you're going to be so happy. We're going to have dinner while you talk. And, you know, we have Diet Jell-O, and we have Diet Coke, and we have this. And I'm just like, none of that's what I'm going to talk about. Like, you guys are so
well, that was kind of like the class that I
yeah.
took, you know. It was like, okay, go get your Diet Jell-O and your diet, you know, and it's insane. They have no idea how to treat people with diabetes. Yeah. And if you happen to go into a hospital and you're diabetic, they'll kill you. Yeah. I mean...
yeah, and with blood sugars, it's important to kind of know that, like, you know, one thing is the reduction of calories. Like, we eat 75% too much food. Like, your plate should be this big as your hand. So that, we call that a salad plate. If you put a rim around that, we call that a dinner plate. The rim is supposed to be decorative. But then we just kept adding food until we have 75% more food. And so, like, you know, a McDonald's hamburger and a small fry and a little 7-ounce drink in 1950 was a grown man's meal.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Now it's a kid's meal.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so we eat 75% too much food, and then we pay a gym to walk on a treadmill, and we still park as close as we can to get to the treadmill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, exercise is, I mean, meals aren't real, exercise is not real. It's not a real thing.
Right.
It's, you know, if you eat, say you drink a beer and it's the same amount of calories as running 7 miles. Well, I didn't run 7 miles. I'll just put that right there. And then I'm going to eat a burger that's 1,600 calories. Well, I'm not going to burn off that. I'll just put that here. And then eventually you have all this stored energy just waiting.
Yeah.
Exercise is to burn off the excess, but sustainable lifestyle is how you maintain.
Right.
If you don't just eat 75%
Right.
too much calories, then you don't have to burn off 75%
Right.
too much calories.
Right.
But the other way you gain weight too is stress. And so your liver actually has a process called gluconeogenesis, which says, I'm going to make sugar in response to stress so you can have a bunch of energy for fight or flight. But if you're not fighting or flighting, that just becomes potential energy for later. And so that's where, if you look at Tufts University, they did this analysis of like all weight loss programs. And what they found was there was 3 truths among all diets in America. The number one truth is nobody's going to finish that. The majority of people will not finish a diet. It's too hard, too difficult, food's pleasure. I'm not going to, frustrate myself, right? The second most common truth was that the majority of people, if they do stick to the diet and follow all the rules, they don't lose any weight. Because again, if they don't change the lifestyle and the stress, well, they're just eating less sugar and then making more sugar.
Yeah.
And the diet's stressful, so then the liver's making even more sugar to sabotage that. But the third truth of that research was the majority of people that actually lose weight will lose an average of 40 pounds, no matter what diet they did. But they would gain that plus 50% more when 6 months after quitting the diet.
Yeah.
Because they never changed why they gained the weight in the first place.
Right.
So they never changed the stress or the hormones. They never changed the diet. So, it's kind of getting off crack and being like, hey, I feel really good. Now I'm going to go back on crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Even Harvard, they were part of a documentary called Fat. And in that documentary, it was like, why does America have 3 out of every 4 people that's obese or overweight? And they couldn't figure it out. And then they were talking to a Harvard professor about gastric bypass, right?
Yeah.
So just take the stomach, just making the stomach an apple. That's why we have these problems. We'll just cut the stomach out. But they found that 97% of people that get gastric bypass never maintain healthy weight. They all gain it back because you can drink calories as opposed to eating stuff that's bulking up too much. Okay. And so, a Snickers is 7 apples. You can't eat 7 apples, but I can eat a Snickers and 2 Snickers, 3 Snickers.
I haven't had a soda pop in 20 years.
Dang. Yeah.
I drink water.
What was your choice back then?
Dr. Pepper.
Ah, that was my addiction.
and what was funny is at the wedding and the pre-stuff that we did, I saw 2 of my granddaughters ordering Dr. Pepper, and I'm going, that's genetic, isn't it?
Yeah, they have it's 23 different flavors.
Yeah.
All derived from coal tar. No, that's a hard one. I mean, the food addiction is really a hard part.
Yeah.
That's where, everybody goes through the hero's journey with this. And kind of having someone mentor you through the process is kind of where that functional lifestyle medicine protocol comes in, of really kind of making those changes. Let alone, because someone, was it 90-something% of New Year's resolutions fail within 6 weeks, maybe?
6 weeks is about as long as it, and I live right down the street from the YMCA. And so you'll see January 1st, there's a bunch of, January 2nd, there's a bunch of cars in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And as the month goes by, there's fewer and fewer cars. And so, I noticed that. And by June, the parking lot's half empty.
Yeah. Yeah, 97% of all weight loss, was it 90? I think it's 97% of all gym memberships are not used, and something like 98% of all gym equipment that you buy at home is never used.
Yeah.
It becomes a place where you hang your clothes.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it's got to be hard because most people just yo-yo.
Yeah.
And I went through that back when I was married. I just, I grew up like crazy strong and super healthy, and I could eat what the hell I wanted, and I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
At my fittest, I was climbing 5 days a week, rock climbing cliffs, and biking everywhere, and I was poor, so I got free ice cream at work. So we could take all the expired ice cream we went home. So the freezer was solid ice cream, and it was solid 2 liters of Dr. Pepper, and then it was just lots of gaming, and then every chance we had, we were just climbing and doing all this stuff. Man, I was so fit.
Yeah.
I had the worst diet.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it did not work anymore.
Yeah.
And holy crap. And so, like,
Mine was 30. At age 30,
30?
it went cattywampus. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
You've been 120 pounds most of your life. Now you're 150, It's just like.
Yeah. I think mine was 35 probably. And then, like, post-divorce, I lost like 60 pounds. But I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, you just get to be like, I was tired. I couldn't outrun my kids anymore.
Right.
They were just like, and you're just like.
I think fatigue from bad diet is the main thing that you see in people.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, I see so many of my friends saying, well, after church, I'm going to go home and take a nap,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's.
So as you become healthier, did you notice that, like, when you go out with friends to eat, like, you're the only one left with energy and everybody else is just like, you see their computer slowing down in their head?
Well, I try to stay with healthy people.
Okay.
I go out with people that eat like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right tribe. That's
right,
way better,
right.
Yeah.
And so that's it's funny. I have a girlfriend and we go out a lot, and we will order almost the same thing off the menu every time, and usually it's like a salmon salad or something like that. And I've learned to like salmon a lot instead of cheeseburgers.
Well, Accountability Buddy is the best. Like, Right Tribe is the best because you don't feel like that constant sabotage.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wayne talks about the Daniel fast. How do you like that? Okay, so we're talking about this in 2023, right?
We've done it twice a year for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And we go 21 days.
But like, I don't know, was that written 80 BC or something like that?
Yeah.
Or no, 30 AD. I think is when they, or at least put the books together for the Bible. But in the Bible, there's a little dietary thing.
Yeah.
And like, oh, Jesus. Oh, by the way, Daniel was eating a bunch of crap. And he didn't feel good, so he started eating fruits and vegetables, drinking water, and it all got magically better.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
You think like today is a problem, but back then it was so important they put it in the Bible?
Yes. Yes.
Like, that's crazy.
Yes.
There's all kinds of dietary stuff in the Bible, which is interesting too.
Yes. There is.
And you think, that's before we started poisoning everybody.
Right.
And,
right.
all the kind of food
before
industry.
we had all the chemicals. And
Yeah.
And it's like one of the things I remember from our first sessions was don't eat corn because it has more GMO in it than anything else, and so.
Yeah.
But they're putting all these toxic stuff into our food, and then we consume it. And I've got to where when I go to the meat counter, I'm going, I don't know what those animals eat,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If they eat inflammation, which is a corn-based diet, you get the inflammation. You suffer consequences.
Yeah.
And it's pain, inflammation, heart, hypertension, irregular heartbeats, and heart attack and stroke.
Yeah.
But if the animal eats healthy, there's 2 major outcomes, or 3. You reverse pain and inflammation, and you reverse heart disease by 9 completely separate mechanisms.
Yeah.
Like, it's not rocket science. Like, sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, I spent $200,000 on an education and, like, I don't know, 12 years of college and, I don't know, 6 or 7 of post-grad stuff, education, just to tell people stop causing all the problems. Like, pretty sure I didn't need to go to school for all this stuff. I could have just learned it mentoring for someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
Well, and by the way, I don't take any medication whatsoever.
Woo woo! Look at that.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
We're drug free.
And I don't, and, you know, there's hardly anybody over 70 that can tell you that, you know.
Who on here is drug free? No medications.
Yeah. Well, Wayne.
I'm not talking about Vicodin parties or snorting Adderall on the weekends. I mean, prescribed medications.
Yeah. Well, you know, the first thing they wanted to do was put me on, what is that one they put everybody on?
Oh, the
Metformin.
Metformin.
Oh, man. And I was like, okay.
So Metformin, so that causes small cell lung cancer, very, very aggressive, from non-smokers.
Oh, my goodness.
It's one of the most aggressive, right? So my best friend's mom gets that, and they're like, how in the world did you get this? And nobody could figure it out. Well, I look up side effects from Metformin, and it's exactly what she has.
Well, that's the problem. I think Wayne and I are very conscious of what those little things they write down on the bottom of the screen when they're, you know, the women are all jumping around and happy, and then the side effects come down in the small print that you can barely see.
Yeah.
Could cause death, but you know, take your chances, you know. And I'd rather take my chances with tomato or banana or avocado.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you know, the same people that are just like, well, I don't know about eating an apple, it's not organic, but I'm going to take like 12 meds.
Yeah.
Why don't you eat the apple?
Yeah, yeah.
The apple, the stuff on the inside is what fixes the damage from the outside, but yeah. Wayne's drug-free. Are you really, Wayne?
Yeah.
Look at you.
Well,
you guys probably say, how much, can you imagine, I don't even know what the answer is, like how much money people save for out-of-pocket costs of going to the doctor and getting meds.
Right.
Like that's huge. Like I know for like the patients that we have that reverse like Crohn's with. Crohn's is an average of like $25,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're saving a ton of money.
Yeah.
Reversing their ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, that kind of stuff. But for like the average person that comes in here with like 5-6 medications, they got to be saving tons of money.
And then the doctors will prescribe you something because the first one's giving you a side effect. And Wayne's mother just went through it.
Yeah.
We put her in a nursing home because she was.
She got mouthy?
She was. No, they had her blood pressure all messed, all screwed up. She started losing her memory. She was walking, shuffling, and she just didn't want to live anymore. You know. And we went to see her last week, and by golly, they changed her medication, and she's doing great, you know. So she may be out of that nursing home here in a week or two.
Yeah, that's one of my friends. Same thing happened with her mom when they put her on statins. She couldn't. She was like 90 years old. She couldn't live alone, and she couldn't drive, and like she couldn't get up the steps to get in the house anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, those statins, that's the side effect. The major side effects from that is exactly what's going on with her.
Yeah.
She went off that.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. Is like exactly what you guys are saying is like, how many drugs are you taking to counteract the side effect of the drugs that you started with?
Right.
And could you just not need that?
And you know, the funny thing is, I see this one commercial where the lady's already taking antidepressants, but they want to give her some more antidepressants.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you eat right, you're not going to have that. I'm convinced eating right changes all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not depressed.
Change food, change chemicals, change the way that you stress. Like, we have a huge success rate, astronomical, with reversing anxiety and depression.
Well, how about all those kids in schools that are on ADHD stuff and all? Is it not? It's not all the red dye and stuff in their food?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you know, like we talked about this lots of times, but like yellow food coloring decreases brain neurite growth by 3,000%, blue by 5,000%, MSG by 8,000%. So even the plastic, the bisphenol A that's in all the soda cans and the canned goods that we have, like vegetable canned goods and stuff. Yale University says it causes learning disorders. It's that neurotoxic. And so it's just like, wait, if everything that you're eating, drinking, breathing, rubbing your skin is neurotoxic and causes learning disorders, then we should see a sudden epidemic when we start using it, and boom, 65, somewhere in there, just boom.
Yeah.
It went up 191% in 20 years between 75 and maybe 91.
Yeah.
And, like, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely, of course they should have all these learning disorders and all this behavioral problems. And we used to blame it on the sugar, but it's the chemicals more than the sugar.
Right.
The sugar just makes you more jacked up
Right.
when your brain is just, like, not working.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
worse.
And I see so many kids that are having behavioral problems because their parents aren't feeding them right.
Yeah.
And I just want to go over and say, hey, can I buy you some groceries for the kid to eat, you know?
Well, I noticed that my last day in Europe, I may have known a couple of days, because I went back to Paris. I was trying to decide whether to go to Havre or Paris again, but I love Paris. So I went back to Paris for the third time, and I was riding the subway at night, and there was a mom with her daughter and son, and her son was probably like 5, the daughter was like 8, and they were just sitting there. They went and he sat next to his mom, and he just sitting there. He was bored as hell, but he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I was like looking, I was like, what is wrong with this picture? And I was looking around. There was no kids on technology, which was pretty interesting. Some parents were, but there was no kids acting crazy in any of the countries I went to.
Yeah.
I went to 7 different countries, 11 different cities. I did not see one hyperactive kid.
Because they aren't all playing on their tablets or their cell
Yeah.
phones, right?
And so I was just like, that's amazing. But the food's totally different, right? And like our stuff's banned over there.
Yeah.
And then the minute I get back to Chicago O'Hare Airport,
Oh dear.
I'm walking past, and this mom yells at her kids. She's like, "This is my last gummy bear," and I'm just like, she's all. I mean, she's at her wits' end, but it's not the kids' fault necessarily.
No, because they're feeding them junk food.
But all through the airport, it was just like categories of kids just running around, hopping, yelling, screaming. Just it was a total opposite of all across Europe. Like I was.
Well, you know, it was funny. I have a 14-year-old granddaughter, and while we were down on the Mississippi coast for the wedding thing, she says, "Grammy, can you bring me some fruit?" Because there was none in the house that they were staying in.
Yeah.
So we went by Sam's and picked up some fruit and took it to her. I was like, "Yeah, I've trained them right."
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Well, as we come to a close here, you know, it's exciting to have you back on, and like, you know, you plant seeds, and sometimes you don't get to see things grow right away, but then you have some that just flourish, and like, you know, it's so awesome to see. We have patients on average lose about 40 pounds, but the goal is we keep it off, sustainable.
Yeah.
And we've had 100, and we've had a few 80s, a couple hundreds, and then like 120 or 40. So I did not recognize that girl when I saw her later, but it was just 3 years of just these slow little lifestyle kind of changes. But, you know, you become a blessing and a light to everybody else because you're the example, you know, and most of us, we like our flashlights where we're just shining solutions on everybody else.
Right.
But to be that light where people
Yeah.
look at you and go, oh my God, what did you do?
Right.
Right?
Right. And that's what I want to do. I want people to be encouraged by this old lady that did it, you know? And I'm continuing to do it. It wasn't a fad diet. It wasn't, you know, get on this diet. I've been doing this now for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since we met.
And you get energy. You get your life back. You know, it's just it's worth it.
It is every bit worth it. And I want to encourage everybody that's listening, watching, or may watch this later, just do it, you know.
Yeah.
Putting off, okay, next week I'll go on a diet. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And it starts from the moment you get up and you realize, hey, today is a new day, and I'm going to treat my body like it's a new day, and I'm going to feed it what it needs and not what I want. Because what we want is not always what we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a song.
Otherwise, we'd all be 20-year-old boys, right? Aimlessly do where the hell
I only
wanted
to be a 20-year-old boy when I was 16.
Yeah.
I
was
kind of a tomboy.
Yeah.
I like to go play football with the boys and baseball with the boys, and you know, and so yeah, I was out hanging with, and the girls used to tease me in high school, why are you hanging with the boys all the time? I'm going, because they're more interesting than you guys, because you guys are talking about the boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go talk cars and stuff with the boys. Anyway.
See, I was the opposite. Well,
You were talking with
I
a
grew
girl.
up with women, so I was always loved just talking about other people and talking shit all the time. And the guys would talk about deer hunting and cars and like I can fix a car. I don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? Like I rebuilt an engine. I don't want to spend 3 hours drinking beer talking about. I don't care about that. I did it on necessity. I want to talk about your stupid pants and how your hat doesn't look right. I don't know.
Well, I actually read automobile.
Yeah.
What was the big one back in the 60s?
My main one.
Car and Driver?
Yeah, Car and Driver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd actually go read those while the girls were reading all the modeling books and stuff, you know.
Yeah. It's more practical. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. And
This is fun.
Thank you guys for being a part of this. And
I hope I've inspired somebody.
yes. And Newman, awesome Newman. Newman's been watching this from the start. Newman's awesome.
And
Same with Gene.
somebody said Skittles are the worst. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But Gene.
See, and Jean's 66.5 years. I didn't. She seems younger than that. And
Does she eat right?
Huh?
Because she eats right?
Apparently she. I don't know. Do you? Do you, Jean? But yeah, Skittles are the.
I love Wayne's comment up there. MD equals practice of medicine. They're just practicing.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Hopefully. It's not like we're trying to synthesize a methylated alkaloid there. All right. Bye, you guys.
Good night.
Oh, and if you can always make appointments at nourishpurifyheal.com. And we also have our sister site, the Genomic Wellness Beverly Hills, our Genomic Wellness Group with our functional medicine nurse. I don't know. What is it, like 8 o'clock? I don't know. So functional medicine nurse, and she practices out there, which she is just awesome, and everybody loves her. But that's at genomicwellnessgroup.com also. So otherwise, thank you guys.
Have a great evening. Thanks for the information and encouragement. All right.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.